everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Allie and I talk about all things travel. So I've got a bit of a confession to make. Over the last couple of years, I've been on the search for the perfect personal item and I think I just found it. This is the CALPAK Terra 26L Duffle Backpack. I've had mine now for about 3 months, and over those 3 months, I've used it on 6 different flights, a train ride. I also just use it in everyday life. I take it to the gym. I take it when I work from a coffee shop. This backpack has really seen a lot of use, and I've got to say, it has held up beautifully. So let's dive into everything I love about this bag, the couple things I wish would have been done a little bit different, and hopefully by the end of the video, you're going to get an idea about whether or not this is the perfect bag for you. Let's get started. Right off the bat, let's talk about the size of this bag, because I know a lot of people are very interested in it because it qualifies as a personal item for most airlines. In my experience so far, I've traveled with it on a couple different airlines and I've never had an issue. However, there are some airlines where the dimensions of this bag just don't qualify. So it's really important before you fly that you're double checking with the airlines what their specific restrictions are. I recently had a 2-hour layover at the airport and thought it would be a fun idea to go gate to gate and try this out in as many personal item sizes as I could find. And I've got to say, overall, at least in the US, this does fit as a personal item for most airlines. There were a couple where it was a bit of a tight squeeze, but it wasn't the end of the world. For example, with United, it was very tight, but because I didn't have it fully packed and you can use the compression straps to tighten the sides, I was able to squeeze it in without a problem. There were a couple airlines where immediately you could just tell looking at the sizer, this bag wasn't gonna fit. Those included British Airways, Air Canada, and Iceland Air. The catch with this is I've flown British Airways a good amount of times over the years. The last couple flights I actually had a backpack that was very similar in size to this. It was about the same height, maybe not quite as wide. They never said a word to me when I was boarding either flight. It fit under the seat just fine, but there's no way it would have fit in the sizer if they'd asked me to size it. So I think on some level, you can kind of use it at your own risk if the dimensions aren't quite what the airline's asking for. Just know that if they do stop you and ask you to put it in the sizer, at least with those airlines, this isn't gonna fit. Now let's talk about the material. This bag's made out of a recycled polyester and recycled ripstop polyester material, so it's really a bag you can feel great about investing in. I especially love that when you unbox it, there's a tag at the top that explains that it's made out of 27 recycled water bottles. Let's be honest, everybody loves a sustainable product, so I think that's a big 10 out of 10 on CALPAK's part. The material on this bag in general over the last couple of months has held up beautifully. I've really put it through a lot, and so far there's no scratches, there's no dirt. Again, I think part of that's probably because I've got the obsidian black color, so you don't really see the dirt on a black bag like you would maybe one of their brighter colors. And they do have brighter colors available if you're somebody who doesn't want a black backpack. They've got a gorgeous like flaming red color, a blossomy pink. There's a couple really gorgeous options. So another thing to point out about this bag and the material used is that it's water resistant. And it's really important to note that they say water resistant and not waterproof. If you're like me and wondering like, okay, how water resistant is water resistant? I actually took this bag out into a rainstorm the other day and walked around for 10 minutes. Here's what I found out. I came back in and unpacked the bag. Right away, the first thing I noticed is that the gray sweatshirt I had packed on top had a couple watermarks where the water had soaked in through the zipper material. So not a huge deal, and honestly, how often are you probably gonna take this bag out in the rain with you? But I do think it's something just to be aware of, especially if you live in a city like New York, where maybe you've got to walk a couple of blocks to the subway, or you're out in the rain trying to grab a cab. Like, it's just something to be aware of before you go outside, especially if you don't have an umbrella, that anything important that you don't want to get wet, I would just place toward the center of the bag and away from the zippers. The other place where I noticed there was a good amount of moisture was in the laptop compartment. Laptop compartment is located in the back of the bag and it's really beautifully padded. They really did a nice job with it. I think this is actually the most padded laptop compartment that I have with a backpack. This bag has flown off the seat of an Uber or two over the last couple of months. And not gonna lie, the last time it happened, the Uber driver stopped very, very suddenly. The bag flew and I thought for sure my computer was a goner. I swear the padding in this bag is what kept it safe. Now that we've talked about the material, let's get into the actual build of the bag. One of my favorite things about this bag is the fact that it's got so many zippers and pockets. No matter what, I always feel really, really organized when I travel with this. Starting off strong, we've got a couple different zippers and pouches in the front. First, we've got this nice little zipper right here. I like to keep my lip gloss, hand sanitizers, anything I'm gonna want really quick access to on the flight, I'll stick in here. And then there's also a larger pocket behind it. So what I like to do is I'll generally keep like a little bit more makeup, passport, my wallet, things like that I'm gonna want quick access to in this top pocket up here. The bottom pocket, there's this nice little outer pouch here. So if I'm traveling and have like a visa or something like that, like paperwork that I might need access to right away, I'll stick all of that in this front pouch. You can open it up here. There's a couple different pouches in here. There's two little zippered pouches. So I like to keep my headphones in here, some snacks, anything again that I might want quick access to while I'm traveling. On the other side, there's a deep pocket here with a zipper. Typically what I'll do is I'll keep my Kindle in here, and then I'll also, once I'm done with my passport and like I know I'm not gonna need it for a while, I'll take the passport out of this top pocket and just zip it into this one for a bit of added security. There's also a really nice little like key ring. I thought that was very thoughtful. So you just know your keys are kept on the bag. You're not gonna have them falling out because let's be honest, who wants to get home from a vacation to find out they can't get in their house? Another little pouch here as well. So personally, I use it for more snacks, but you know, use it for whatever you want. And then on this side of the bag, there's a really nice grab handle. It's really beautifully padded. And just behind it, there's this little pouch here. It's big enough to fit either a passport or just anything else you might want it to be a little more hidden. I don't personally use it that often, but it's there if you want it. And then you'll also notice there's two compression straps on this side as well as on the other side. And that's just gonna help you compress the bag. It's really useful if you're trying to fit it into a sizer that's maybe a little snug. It just gives you that little bit of extra like cinching to hopefully get it into the sizer should they ask you to size it. Jumping to the other side of the bag, we've got our compression straps again. And then we've got this really nice pocket here that's multi-purpose. Open it up. And as you can see, it's got like this nice like elastic portion. You can either use it as a storage pocket, or the point of like the elastic netting is that you can use it as a water bottle holder. So I've got my Swell bottle here. We're gonna slide it in like this, zip it back up, and it just zips right around the water bottle. So you can strap it in for a little bit of added security. And I like that depending on the size of your water bottle, it's basically adjustable, because obviously my Swell bottle is quite narrow, but I know a lot of people use Hydro Flasks or things that are quite a bit larger. I really don't think you're gonna have an issue getting any of those into this side compartment because again, it is quite expandable. So moving on to the back of the bag, first off, let's talk about the straps. Again, really beautiful padding. This backpack, even after wearing it for hours, it's still comfortable, and I swear it's because of the padding. They've really done a nice job there. With the straps, they also have a sternum strap, so you can give yourself a little bit of extra support, especially if the bag's heavy. It does make a difference. Another detail to mention on this bag that I think is really thoughtful is the fact they've included a trolley sleeve, so you can see it's just right here. And overall, it works really well. So I'm just gonna show you how that works. It's on the back of the bag. So I got the trolley sleeve. It is a bit narrow, so it is a bit of a struggle getting it on the handle. And I think part of the issue is because everything's packed in the top portion, it like falls forward. And just for reference, the only thing I have in here right now are the two packing cubes. So when this is fully packed, it is quite top heavy. And as you can see, it just falls like the opposite direction. So it's a bit of a struggle getting it on here, but then once it's on, it is quite sturdy. And you can see it just sits nice and easy on top of the bag. So another feature that I'm really a huge fan of with this bag is the fact that you can turn it from a backpack into a duffel bag. So let me show you how we're gonna do that. Unclip it here and unclip it here. This lets you pull these straps up, and we're just gonna tuck them into this compartment right here. That just gives you a nice clean back for the duffel. And then there's a pocket on the back. You can really store this strap wherever, but I just find that keeping it on this back pocket works really well size-wise. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna take these straps here just because we don't really want them dangling when it's a duffel bag. And they just tuck into the side here. So let me just tuck those in. Do the other side. So there we go, we've got a nice clean back on the bag, and we're just gonna flip it on its side so that the grab handle is on the top. Got our strap, again, like a nice padded portion for your shoulder, and we're gonna just clip it on. There's a little clip here, and then another spot to clip it on this side. And voila, you've turned your backpack into a duffel bag. So now that we've talked about the outside of the bag, let's dive into the interior. So starting off, there's two different access points. The first one we're gonna look at is this little half zipper. I find this to be such a thoughtful addition to the way they've designed this bag. It's perfect for if you're going through TSA and you've got to pull out your liquids. Everything is just right here, very accessible. You don't have to open the entire bag. It's just nice and streamlined. And the other zipper is gonna open up the entire bag. And I'm a huge fan of the way this bag opens because it's a clamshell opening. I'm just gonna unzip it here, and it's gonna go all the way around. There we go. And it just pops right open like that. It's basically like a suitcase. But right off the bat, you can see there's a really nice zippered pouch at the top. It's net, so you can see exactly what's in it. Love that. And then they've also got two places here that you can keep your shoes in. You've got one of two options with this. Personally, I like keeping my shoes in their own separate bag that I can just toss into the washing machine. So if it's like flats or something like that and they're in the bag, I'll put that bag then in one of these just to keep it, you know, organized. But the other thing I do like to do with this bag, especially in the winter, but like a lot of the time I'm bringing a pair of boots or something that just isn't gonna fit in these little pouches. I'll instead use these pouches for things like bras, socks, just to like feel a bit more organized. You can see this is that deep pocket that we talked about earlier that's behind the grab handle. There's also zippered pouches on either side. And there's compression straps. So again, like this is the part of the bag that you're gonna put your packing cubes into, and then you can just strap them in. And I'll show you with my packing cubes. Go. So I've got two of them, like a large and a small. And you can see like this bag is very, very deep because even with the packing cubes, there's still plenty of space on top to add in a bunch of extra stuff. Again, like it really is Mary Poppins' magical backpack. I swear it's insane the amount of stuff you can fit in this bag. So that's basically the tour of the CALPAK Terra 26L Duffle Backpack. This is truly my favorite travel backpack at the moment. I find myself reaching for it anytime I've got a trip coming up. I'm a huge, huge fan. I really think you can't go wrong with this bag. So if you'd like to read more about it, I do have an in-depth review on my website, allitravels.com. I'll leave the link in the description box below if that's something you want to check out. I do also have an affiliate link in the description box, so if you are thinking about purchasing this bag, I'd really appreciate it if you use my link. It helps me out and doesn't cost you anything extra. And with that, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!